And we're back for another dive into whatever this is, the Hollywood cesspool of truth and reality that's quickly being revealed to us here. How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody enjoying Espresso 2026 so far? We're like barely 2 weeks in, and it already feels like it's been a whole year with everything that's been happening lately. Crazy times we're living in, guys. Welcome everybody. Justin Fell's Zone. Peggy's here. Lisa's here. What do we got? Veronica, Sassafras. Welcome. Go play outside. Steel, Peter. Made it. Right on. How's everybody doing? Yeah, right on. Thank you. I have definitely been busy. Here, let's bring up the map here. May as well dive right into it. I have been busy. I have been adding some more connections, some big connections, and starting to work in the music side of things. I'm starting to flesh out more of the Nick side of the Disney sphere and how that all ties in. Oh, it's fighting me here. And all the little subgroups, how like within that music sphere, because there's really just the three main big companies, but there is a lot of subsidiaries in between, and I started adding in some of the subsidiaries that are lesser known to be affiliated with the Disney sphere. So yeah, we've been busy. I don't know if you guys can see this clear enough. Hold on. We've been busy throwing in some of like the obvious TD or TW Theory movies and their connections, more of the starting to figure out more of what the actual color coding is, because I don't really know yet, but like as you guys know, as I mentioned, this is inspired by DesiOverzealous over on TikTok, but no idols, no masters over here. She started with the Board of Entertainment pretty much around this time last year, maybe even sooner, like the end of 2024, around the Diddy situation, and she started mapping out all these connections with Diddy and had a color code system that she was doing on her wall, and it was very comprehensive. It was probably the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And at some point I was like, you know what, I need to do something like this to get a visual of what I've been mapping and what I've been following for all these years, where for some of you guys who have been following me a long time, you guys know that the Dark Hollywood series basically had started with the inspiration of River Phoenix, and just all the people that were involved in that first few episodes basically was, or not episodes, documentaries really, was the people that were there that night, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was at Johnny Depp's club. So both those videos, it was kind of exploring that tragic event, but from the outer sphere of it all. And then from there, I tracked all these different lost souls, I guess you could say, along the way. We've got the Brad Renfro, Corey Haim, Jonathan Brandis, the ones lost from those kids' movies, the movie Kids and like Gummo and all that. We had Justin Pierce, Harold Hunter. There were so many of them. Heather O'Rourke. And then ones that aren't necessarily lost too young, but were a little suspicious, I've started adding. The situation with the Twilight Zone movie that not a lot of people know about, that was connected back to the great big iceberg of it all. But it's kind of, for me now, is starting to go back to the Rob Reiner thing, because it is coming full circle, because obviously River Phoenix, the other side of it is that he had starred in the Stand By Me movie, and he was in the Indiana Jones, which this all connects back to this big, I hope you guys can see this, I might have to move it over a little more, hold on. This whole big, these industry giants, and between Stand By Me and Indiana Jones, something weird had happened in between there. And obviously he had started struggling in a lot of the same ways as Nick Reiner, with the same kind of substances, same idea, but he was tragically lost at the age of 23. And then now that we are a more trauma-informed society, and we realize that a lot of these people that end up struggling, they've been struggling with substances or with the law or whatever, what have you, that a lot of times you can kind of connect it back to where maybe something happened in their childhood that could explain why they're starting to break down in their early adulthood. And with the case of Nick Reiner now, bringing everything full circle, for him having, like, he looked shell-shocked at 7, He was into heavy narcotics, dependent on heavy narcotics by preteens, and then now suspected. He's the prime suspect of parricide of his own parents. And Rob Reiner himself had said that everyone in jail for a violent crime had a nightmare childhood. So I'm figuring probably River Phoenix has a rough idea of what Nick Reiner probably went through, and probably Jonathan Brandis and, Corey Haim, all these kids in this sphere. Bug Hall, who survived this sphere, had spoken about how the first time he started being trespassed upon was on the set of this movie, which also very strongly fits the TW theory, which the TW theory, if you don't know what that is, that's a developing theory. I had first published early November, and the most disturbing example of that theory was Stand By Me, with Rob Reiner's Stand By Me, and in relation to River Phoenix. And also included in that theory, I touched on the Jonathan Brandis, I touched on Brad Renfro, and started developing that theory. So that in mid-December, when things happened with the Reiners, if anything, it just further confirmed that theory for me. And so now here we are. This is the map of pretty much the beginning to the end of the whole dark Hollywood thing I've been doing here for several years. Everything I've kind of been trying to covertly show people, like, here's the dots, here's the patterns, and under the guise of like the Charlie Sheen documentary and under the guise of Drew Barrymore biography documentaries, but within those videos it was exploring that full sphere. So everyone that had crossed their paths, that had met an untimely or suspicious or unpurposeful end. So here we are. Now we're mapping the whole freaking thing, and this software is freaking awesome. And actually, I don't know if Desi's made it in or not just yet. Let me catch up with you guys in the chat. But this is something too. You got to check this out if you're in here with us now. To make your whole life so much easier, because I did start on the wall. I had started on my wall with some sticky notes, and then it kind of graduated to this. I was doing for the Brittany Murphy video, trying to just map out all these weird connections, and with the predators in the industry, connecting back to the music industry, and this was just the Brittany Murphy sphere. So already that was starting to get complicated on my walls, so I went and looked online. Go figure, this friggin' Canva just has this built in. So this one is a little more messy, because I was doing the lines, drawing the lines, but then I figured out that you can connect them with these cleaner lines, and then they link. So when you go to move them, they all move together. So when you're trying to add in new sections, you can just grab a whole section, and you can move it over and make space to fit another thing in there or wherever. And like to move a whole section over, you can grab the whole thing. Oh, it's so freaking handy. It's so cool. So this has been like a whole game changer for me, just to understand, just starting with the Brittany Murphy thing, which I'm going to probably clean this up, and this is going to be in that final episode. That video has been a few years in the making, and obviously now I can understand why there was so much pushback as of the recent developments in the last year or so. So this is where all this stuff kind of converged, and then that's where I came across Desi and started watching her Board of Entertainment and everything, and like following I covered the Diddy thing pretty closely. And all of this stuff, it's literally all of it's coming full circle now, which is crazy. But of course, with the industry, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 6 degrees of separation, but in the industry, it's 2 degrees of separation. Like, everything's connected. And in a sickening way, when you really start to look at the patterns of people lost too soon that struggled with substances or alcohol or whatever in their early adulthood and then are no longer with us, and what it all connects back to. And there was big hubs of a problem long before even the Epstein and the Diddy of it all. There was the Digital Entertainment Network, which was, if you haven't watched the Timothy Buzzfield video, and like it's in the Charlie Sheen video, it's in a bunch of videos, I've touched on it over the years. But this Digital Entertainment Network was meant to be a precursor to Netflix, but back in the 90s, like 1999. And it had big backing, huge backing. Microsoft, Dell, Chase Capital, David Geffen, David Newman, which David Geffen's big record company, film guy. David Newman, former president of Disney. They had Bryan Singer, X-Men director guy. All these people went in on this company that was formed by Mark Collins Rector his very much younger underage in the start boyfriend, eventually he was of age, but they'd met. He was 15. Mark Cullen's director was in his 30s. Brought him on board. Together they recruited Brock Pierce, who was a former child star. He was in the Mighty Ducks movies. And of course also this First Kid movie that Timothy Busfield was in. So this is where these connections are coming into play right now and connecting back to the Rob Reiner and the big iceberg of it all. This is where it all starts to come into play right now. It's all, like I said, coming back full circle. So Brock Pierce was the lead child star of First Kid. And First Kid, the other child star in that movie was that Zachary Ty Bryan guy who used to be on Home Improvement. And he's been having a bunch of troubles. He got arrested like 6 times in the last 5 years. But anyways, Brock Pierce went on to work with these 3 guys, the 3 of them together, Chad Shackley, Mark Cullen's director, and Brock Pierce. Developed Den together, and what Den ended up being was really just a big front to have these mansion parties where it was very similar situation to the Diddy and the Epstein of it all, but being with young teen boys. So then we had Kevin Spacey in there, we had Bryan Singer, all his friends, which was like Ian McKellen, I can't say that he's necessarily guilty of anything, but he was in the movie The Apt Pupil, which was directed by Bryan Singer way back in the day. And that movie had resulted in accusations and is also a big TW Theory movie. And the accusations were basically because of a shower scene in that movie and where the kids were told, you're going to take the Speedos off and be full nude or we replace you. And other things happened to the kids, some of those kids on that movie. And this guy had gotten so many accusations over the years. Finally, he's been chased out of the business. He's gone now. But Bryan Singer, he had a history. And that was connected back to Brad Renfro. That Apt Pupil movie was Ian McKellen, Brad Renfro, directed by Bryan Singer. And so again, like, there's all these little connections when you start looking at it all. And then, of course, Brad Renfro then also connects back to the Tommy Lee Jones situation because The Client, his first movie was The Client with Joel Schumacher. Oh, hold on, we're getting far out of the way here. Hold on. It's a little touchy. He did The Client. His first movie was The Client with Joel Schumacher and Tommy Lee Jones and Susan Sarandon. And all these people, it's just starting to connect back. And then with how Tommy Lee Jones now connects back to some other questionable people, with his daughter also being a untimely, suspicious situation. And then connecting back to the Ryder situation. Which, I mean, I can't really say anything specifically for anything that's not been charged in a court of law just yet. But when you start looking at the patterns and you start looking at the connections, it tells a story, right? But here we go. Let me catch up with you guys. It's getting away from me again. I hope Kevin Bacon isn't in this one. He has some associations, but he's like a wild card. There's some associations, but nothing really too extreme to put him on as one or the other of anything. So this is where we start getting into the color coding of, so this is against adult women, is the darker pink. Wild card, I'm kind of putting it as the yellow black right now. I don't fucking know. It might change as I go. I'm still trying to figure it out. The blue pink is no preference but children. And then the blues have been either accused or convicted or paid a settlement. And it's sort of coming together in such a way. The oranges are like pretty sure a victim of something but can't prove it. Yellow is or they've claimed, like Bug Hall has talked about the abuses he faced as a kid and what movies, what companies. It was more so that he was facing abuses. He's been very vocal about it. But anyway, so the orange is like pretty sure victim. Yellow is more like a whistleblower. So Elijah Wood has spoken a lot about, the P3DOs being a huge problem in the industry. And one of the first movies he worked on was North, which was Castle Rock, Rob Reiner, another TW Theory movie. So this is where we're at. I don't really know where I'm going with this tonight. I kind of just like giving you guys the update on the progress. I think once it's come together more and I've added more notes and it's a little more complete, I might set it up where you guys can like access this to view whenever you want. So you can zoom in at however you want and you can hover. It has like notes. I've put notes now for some of these, where is it? For some of these studios, where are my notes? I have no more notes. My notes went away. Shoot. I might be in an older version. I'll have to check it out. Shit, I put some notes on this, and now they're gone. That's kind of sus, actually, a little bit, because I'm pretty sure this is the newest one. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But they're... Shoot. That sucks. But these studios, there's like 13 different Disney shows that were filmed at this specific studio. And this specific studio has come up in so many blind items and in so many suspicious, sinister places. It was where Kids Incorporated was filmed, which has come up so many times in blind items, both this studio and that. So going all the way back. And then, yeah, more recently with the Disney stuff. But it connects to the Brittany Murphy. It connects to, if you guys remember Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. She struggled for a long time with substance abuse disorder after working on Kids Inc. and then had her come back with Black Eyed Peas. But she was like a regular main character on Kids Inc. So, like, I'm kind of mapping the forward and the backward and somewhere in between, and it all links back to certain industry giants, certain main big companies. And just for the record now, also, I'm of sound mind and body, and I'm not on any drugs, and I don't want to die. I don't take any medications. There's nothing. They can't get to me. They can't get to me. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. They cannot get to me. So if something happens, they got to me somehow, some way. I don't know. But I know this is very fucking risky, and I don't know if you guys even realize how kind of risky this is. And if you follow in like the iCappy and you follow in and see how many red dots are on here, and when you go to basically this, the Brittany Murphy, she's tied to people trying to have revealed all of this. Before the Diddy, before the Epstein, she was trying to reveal some shit. And the amount of people that died in that sphere trying to talk about some shit about certain people and about certain companies is the Voldemorts. We're talking about Voldemorts. The they who cannot be named, all right? Like, we're going against Voldemorts. This is Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and Snape is the fucking teacher, and we're in a dangerous position. So just so you guys know, and just for the fucking record. Will this be on Patreon? What do you mean? Yeah, like maybe to access it. Maybe we'll do it through Patreon. Maybe do it in such a way. I don't know. I'm gonna obviously have to be super freaking careful with how much further I go about this, because I'm starting to map out now too the dirty work. Who is doing the dirty work? Because obviously big industry giants don't want to do the dirty work themselves. Like, I don't know, how do I even say this? There's people like this guy, this Roger Birnbaum guy, that's connected to a bunch of stuff and a bunch of these companies, the early companies that connect back to the Disney sphere, that also happen to connect right directly to some of these movies that connect directly to different spheres that you can kind of start to see the actual pipeline. Like, in another good example here, perfect example, is the Francis Ford Coppola. Hold on, we're too far over. Let me come over here. Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas have a company together called American Zoetrope. Okay? Way back when, they got together with this guy, Victor Salva. They gave him the film equipment they used for American Graffiti. They had filmed it together, American Graffiti, which happens to be also that studio, the Hollywood Center Studios we were just talking about. American Zoetrope had rented that lot for a while. That all connects back. It's too complicated to connect it back up to it on this map, but like this is where notes will come in handy. But anyway, so American Zoetrope, they did American Graffiti. The film equipment for American Graffiti and $250,000 from Francis Ford Coppola went to Victor Salva to do this movie. Okay? This movie was basically a cover to have access to this child that this guy had already been grooming for years, okay, prior to. Filmed this movie. They gave him $250,000 in the film equipment, did this movie, made videos of this kid, okay? Like, this is all fact. This is convicted fact, okay? This guy's, Nathan Forrest Winters, has also spoken out a lot about this. He's in the video, in the Timothy Busfield video. I touch on it. I touch on the Brian Peck and the Victor Salva. But this is where we're going into it deeper. So Nathan Forrest Winters, he was the victim. Victor Salva goes to jail. He spends I think like 15 minutes, 15 months of a 3-year sentence, something like that, similarly to Brian Peck. When he gets out, pretty much immediately he's rewarded by having the script he wrote in jail picked up by none other than all these companies, developed and brought in by the Disney Sphere. Immediately after getting out of jail, works with the Disney Sphere. That worked out fine. He's welcome back into the industry. Then guess who did Jeepers Creepers? And guess who's the executive producer? Knowing full well this guy is a convicted predator. And on both those movies, access to teens and kids. Powder was literally, there were scenes filmed at a school, and there were extras. There was all kinds of kids around. So then he's working with them. They do that movie, right? Okay? Gross. Now, we have the situation with Jake Lloyd, who is still with us, but he's being held in a facility somewhere. They're saying he's schizo and he's this and that. He had problems with drugs. He had run-ins with the law. His mother basically has got him like under the conservatorship. And so that is now connecting back to Lucas, which of course we know is good friends with the Iceberg situation. And Kathleen Kennedy, who went on to be the president of Lucasfilms, was the bestie of Iceberg, the casting director, his favorite casting director, who had discovered both Drew Barrymore and Heather O'Rourke. She was who decided who was going to be used for Poltergeist and who was going to be used for E.T. So they go way, 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 way back. Kathleen Kennedy, she's also, they made a South Park episode about her. I guess she's being blamed for ruining Disney and the Star Wars and whatever. But anyway, so now Lucasfilms, she was leading Lucasfilms, but now Lucasfilms and like Fox and all those other companies are now part of the big sphere. They're all owned by Disney now. So it all connects back in such a way in more recent years, but we're going all the way back. We're going all the way fucking back. So, and it's complicated, but then when you start to look, there are these major companies that connect in between, that connect these big people. So then we've got the offshoots like Amblin TV, which did Sequest DSV, which connects back to the Jonathan Brandis, which connects back to, like, it all freaking connects. It all connects. And so this is where we're at. And yeah, maybe on Patreon I'll do the connection for this, because I can share the link and have it just viewable so people can't screw with it. But they can look at it and hover and see the comments. And now all my comments are already gone, so I think this might be a slightly older version. I'm going to have to go back and figure out what I did. And I might have to like back it up and start just like saving it every time physically, because I put a bunch of notes for these studios that are very important for how many shows. Like if you go look up It's a Laugh right now, like I've connected a few shows that connect back to like the Matt Prokop situation. That all connects back also to the Busfield, to the, it's like it's, I don't know. If I don't go insane, I might be a genius. I'm not sure yet. But this, and I see she's joined us now. Desi's in here now. Desi, thank you. Thank you for being like the inspiration of this all and helping unlock the keys of it. My brain being my brain on your wall, and for me to finally put it together in a way that I could go ahead and now do this side of it. I don't even said before, like, we're clearing out the same attic, different sides of the same attic. This is the other side of the attic, I guess, in a way. And I'm going balls deep here now. We're just fucking going hard. I don't even, like, there's so much of this stuff that I wouldn't come out and just say before because of it being a Voldemort situation. But, like, the crack is in the foundation. People are seeing it with the Reiner situation happening and how strong those connections are back to the iceberg of it all. Like, we got to do this. They can't silence us all. It's got to be done. We got to just force through the barrier here and let people see these wonderful Wizards of Oz for what they really are, whatever it may be, like how ugly it may be. But everybody, No Idols, No Masters, NINM podcast in the chat. If you guys want to go over and check her out, check out her YouTube. She hasn't done as much on YouTube just yet, but she's slowly moving some stuff over there. But subscribe to her on YouTube. But I've also linked the original The Board of Entertainment in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, because she's kind of going in the whole other angle, and she connects it back to, like, secret society, military, like, she's going balls deep in a different direction, but it's all very important, and it's all connected in another way, because back in the 80s, the military, the religious leaders, the political leaders, Hollywood leaders, figures, all these people got together and started figuring out how to use the techniques they'd learned between the 40s and the 70s, experimenting with behavioral and mind control research. Between those, like for 30 years, everything they learned, they started putting it into practice. And then, so this is where we had so much weird shit starting to happen, and all these weird, like, we're seeing it now. We're seeing it all starting to detonate now. All these people that grew up in the industry or were child actors, all these people between, late 20s, early 30s, everyone's starting to implode or explode right now. They're either self-destructing or harming, like, they're either harming oneself or others. All of these situations, we're seeing it. We're seeing it all going, like, it's in real time now. Like, we were kind of slowly seeing it through the early 2000s and with the Jonathan Brandis, the River Phoenix, all these kids. But now it's like every other day. Every other day something wild is happening and it all connects. So here we go. Here's what we're doing. Pulled you out of the hiatus. Yeah. No, and we all need a break sometimes. And when you do get flying too close to the sun, like she ended up, like, that's as an example of how dangerous all this is. She was flying too close to the sun within the Diddy sphere, and she ended up getting nuked. And I think it was kind of unrelated, but there was a lot. You had a ton of stuff. Maybe you can explain it more in the chat, like briefly. But how she was getting attacks from all these different angles, and they'd ended up finding a way to get her nuked on TikTok, and she had to start over again. And so she's kind of gone in some different directions. She got some really good stuff over on Patreon too, actually, like with the John Bonet. She was digging into some different sides of the John Bonet whole situation last year as well, and kind of gives a lot more depth into the secret societies and the military side of it from what I'm doing. I'm kind of going more into the harms and trespasses against children angle, and she's giving a little more context to how they're all connected, how all the families connect, how the secret societies connect. So that's some really great shit she's doing over there too. And if she's coming at a hiatus and getting back on it, it's all the better time to get on it, get caught up for everything she's been doing over there. But yeah, the work continues. Exactly. It's getting a lot more clear, and this is where we're at. And like I said, they can't silence everybody anymore. And it is like the curtain's being pulled back. Like, we're following the red brick road. We're seeing what it is. Forget the yellow brick road. We're not getting distracted by all the glitz and the glamour and the luxury and the fame and all the bullshit anymore. Now we're following the red brick road. Like, I don't know if you guys even know, but the beginning of Wizard of Oz, and actually right around 33 minutes, which you're going to love that one, Desi, if you don't know about this yet, but around 33 minutes, Dorothy, when she gets to the land of Oz or whatever, she's standing on a swirl. It's a swirl of yellow and red. There's a yellow brick road and a red brick road. And all the munchkins come in, and all the song and dance and everything distracts her from the red brick road, and is like, come with us down the yellow brick road. Come with us to the land of Oz, the wonderful land of Oz, and we're going to meet the Wizard of Oz. And they distract her from the red brick road. But the red brick road, really, that's where we need to be looking. That's exactly where we're going. We're following the red brick road now, and the road of predators and lost souls. That's what it is. That's what we're doing now. That's what needs to happen. And at the end of that movie, the little dog Toto, which roughly translates to everyone in like different languages, Latin languages, everyone, all together, all of us little people together. The littlest dog pulled the curtain back, right? So all of us together, if all of us little people were pulling the curtain back on these wonderful Wizards of Oz, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep, So yeah, here we are. Yes, exactly. And that too, with the stepmother, and then connecting to with the Jamie Foxx being one of the original, like, little group members between Ashton and Diddy. It was Ashton, Diddy, and Jamie Foxx first, like, right when they all first started hanging out and having the parties. That's where it all began. So I think, like, you were poking the eye right in it. Like, you were poking it right in the eye with what you knew and what you had experienced. And honestly, like, I've wondered, too, the way that my mother kind of unexpectedly and suspiciously passed away a few years ago. I've kind of wondered, and the way things were going in my life and business and just different things when I'd really started going into the dark Hollywood of it all, and after I'd done the Charlie Sheen video, and just the way I see it playing out now with so many different truthers out here, and how the different attacks happen, and different attacks I've personally experienced with between cyber attacks and just all kinds of crazy stuff happening. Like, it's real. It's real. It's dangerous. And the more you get closer, you're flying close to the sun, like, you'll know. You'll know. And, yeah, like, however that went, like, we know Diddy and Jay-Z were paying people to go track down creators and influencers and try to buy them off and try to sway them one way or the other. Like, that was a messy situation. And, of course, that obviously all connects back in. I've kind of started going that direction, but I didn't want to go too deep on that, because obviously, like, go check out Desi's stuff. She's been doing it. She did the Diddy sphere, and from outside of that, very thoroughly. But that is on here, too. I've started kind of mapping it a little bit, too, just for context and for reference. That's all there, too. But, yeah. Yeah, the TW Theory, if you guys don't know, that's linked in the description too. It is free. Everything pretty much on Patreon is free. But it's early access to paid members is pretty much how I have it over there. But I do kind of have to have some stuff separate and do stuff in such a way. You saw, yeah, more people are starting to realize about the Wizard of Oz thing. More people are starting to wake up. It's like we're literally seeing so much more progress now in this last couple of years, like the last year or so especially, than the last several combined. Like, I've been at this for several years now. Like, if you go back, like the Charlie Sheen video, I think it was like 3, almost 4 years ago now. But if you go all the way back to the way I've been trying to leave the breadcrumb trail, and there's lots of videos that I end up having to get rid of over the years. Like, I tried to go hard into the of it all early on. Where now, like, that Hollywood's Hidden Curriculum, if you go over to the Patreon, the Hollywood's Hidden Curriculum, that's a paid thing. That's the book I'm working on. You can do the pre-order and get it cheaper now. Hopefully going to be having it done by spring. But I don't know now. Now, with all this Reiner stuff and everything else now on my plate, I don't know how soon that's all going to be done. But the Hidden Curriculum is basically the playbook. And then the TW Theory is, like, how to recognize the patterns in film. You know, it's like the covert way of these people communicating together and how they're getting their kicks, I guess, out of it, where to the untrained eye, you wouldn't even think that there was anything weird there. But when you start to look at the lost souls connected to it, like Stand By Me being the most disturbing example of it, where basically it's kids being in different stages of undress or under duress or in some kind of situation that they're being exposed to an adult circumstance that they do not have any business being exposed to. And yeah, it's pretend, it's a movie, but obviously we know now that kids in these movies are affected. Which, actually, I gotta throw Natalie Portman on here, too. I don't know if I added her in yet. But, like, Misha Barton, for example, she's talked about, and Bug Hall, this movie specifically, how it had affected them. And that's a very big TW Theory movie, which, of course, connects back to this Tamara Davis woman who did Gun Crazy, connects back to Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore had a cameo in Skip Parts. But Misha went on to have a lot of issues. And if you look at some of the movies they were in, and they were also in movies with Brad Renfro together, and the dynamic that was happening there, just being in that movie, like in these movies like Tart, Skipped Parts, Bully, The Apt Pupil, obviously did enough damage that it caused both Bug Hall and Misha to have serious struggles in late teens, early adulthood with substances and legal stuff. And then we have Brad Renfro didn't make it, who also a lot of struggles for a long time before he didn't make it, you know? So all of it yeah, it's not even fully, like, I've sort of started. Actually, do you want to just get on a call and be part of this conversation, like, full on, Desi? I don't know if you, like, are in the mode to get on for a chat, and if not, that's cool, that's fine too, to just continue in the chat. But if you wanted to just call me and be part of this conversation, like, for real, you're more than welcome. Because, like, this is you did this, you helped put my brain on, you literally put my brain on the wall, and it was, like, one of the most interesting, fascinating things I'd ever seen. Like, as for a creator, from a creator to a creator, it's very rare that I meet a mind that's kind of sees things in the way I see it, and can see the connections. And you'd started putting it on the wall in a way that I was like, holy shit. All the videos, the Drew Barrymore, the Charlie Sheen, all these videos I'd done over the years and touched on all these people in the video, you were putting it on the fucking wall, and it blew my goddamn mind. So, like, now, this is, like, a different version, obviously, but this is very much inspired by you. This is very much your brainchild. Yeah, do you want to do Discord or fuck on, I don't know, whichever. Yeah, Discord actually might be the easiest, because I'll just put you on my phone here. One sec. I make sure I'm logged in. Because I don't like socials anymore. I think you can do it through Twitter now, but I've abandoned so many freaking socials. And I don't think even you're using Insta or anything anymore. You're kind of like, and you're coming over the dark side. I've seen you're on Twitter now, which is cool. But yeah, you're like the expert on this, so let's get you on here. Hold on, here we go. Okay. Let me make sure everybody can hear. Can you hear me? Oh, I don't know if it's working. We're connected, but I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
I love the way that you put this in digital form. You know how apprehensive I was with the board on how, because it's Voldemort, how do you serve this to people? It felt like a weapon at a certain point.
It is. This is psychological warfare, or digital warfare is what we're doing right now.
Yes, I think too, it definitely, it resonates for the people that understand it. I feel like the way that you mapped out your color code system is very similar to the board, right?
Yeah.
As far as having to differentiate that, yes, everybody is connected. I love how I was listening to you say that it was 2 degrees of separation. Because I think so often people would look at the board, and I feel like you remember when they would be like, oh, it's everyone, and they would write it off,
Yeah.
Like, it's everyone, but you have to understand the nuance of how some hands are dirtier than others, and the way that soldiers move through the system is very important to observe. So just seeing the way you laid this out and how you have some connected but different aspects filled here, I feel like you just brought me out of hiatus for real.
Well, and like you kind of did in a way, like your board is sort of what had got me out of my hiatus and got me like supercharged and energized like this time last year basically, or maybe like, yeah, it was like what, December. We had started chatting and I'd starting to take in your content, and like I'm glad I can return the favor, to be honest. And like the way that you had mapped it out for me to like really organize my brain was life changing. And so if this is gonna help you on your end, and I think this part is free, like I will send you this is Canva and it's free. I'm pretty sure this is just free. Like if you want to start putting from your wall and start making the connections.
Membership on Canva too. I feel like Canva just like works for these types of mind maps.
Yeah.
Or when you're kind of just in between concepts, or you kind of file it away and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get here, but I need to explain this part first. But seeing this visual map and even some of the names that are getting dropped in the chat, it's like, yes, people are kind of taking the parts for the whole finally. So it's easier for people like us that kind of see everything to meet other people that see everything and can kind of throw in more of their pieces. Because just the way the chat was moving earlier, I was like, yes, you're attracting good thinkers, people that see it for what it is. But I'm really intrigued by the way that you're breaking it out right now. Because, I mean, it's similar to the board, but it's different. And
yeah.
I think that this angle is really, I know that mine was kind of spooky, but I'm like looking at this and I'm like, yeah, you're saying Voldemort for a reason. These are the head honchos, right? And even when you were talking about David Giffen and all of them, I'm like, they're connected to art. When you start talking about these different deals and how they cover it in art, I'm like, because I remember them from the parts of the board that are art related, where I started looking into art. And I have no interest in that, but the places these types of maps will take you, when you're just looking at studios and then branching out and then you end up in art, my stomach definitely turns.
No, we're treading into some dangerous territory. So of course, like the iceberg, Steven Iceberg is what we're, or the Voldemort. We're gonna say Voldemort's, because some of them, and Rob is really, we can talk about it now because of what Nick has done right now. He is he's the Toto of that situation in such a way. So that is like peeling it back enough that he can't be protected anymore. Like there's no protection there anymore. It's wide open, and people are looking, people are seeing, and they're not going to just silence everybody. Like this is our time. This is the time to jump in and go full force with the way that you're going about it. And like, yeah, like this, I guess you're getting the idea now of what I was seeing on your board and why it to me was so fascinating. Because from my end of it, I'm like, holy shit. Like, you're right there, and you were connecting pieces that I'd never even thought of, and, like, going back into the music industry of it all, where I hadn't mapped all of that so much as you had. Like, you were kind of filling in blanks for me, so, like, this is big kudos to you either way. Like, and I'm glad, like, I feel so honored that you're, like, I got your nod of approval here, because I was like, oh, man, like, I don't want to feel like, I'm not stealing it, I'm not trying to take the idea, I'm trying to expand on it.
You know, and it's like how I was even back in the day where people were very much on me about intellectual property, and I would always say, no, I did this thing and I want somebody to do it with their own mind. So you know how I am. I'm very rage against the machine. I don't believe in intellectual property, and I think even just the way that I presented the board, anybody could take their mind and try to communicate in a system that speaks volumes but protects them as you're processing it, right? Like, if you just opened up this mind map, it takes a code, right? Like, you're not saying it explicitly, and that's all I wanted for anybody that was looking at the board and inspired, was to find a language that they could speak in, that others would understand them, but that would protect them while they're unraveling that piece of yarn.
Yes.
Because I think both of us have dived into different parts of it, or kind of been surprised about where we end up, but not necessarily thinking we have it figured out, right? And that's why the more eyes that you guys have on it is really inspiring. Like, just reading through earlier from the chat that I hadn't seen, I'm like, oh, some really good names are being brought up.
Like, they see it too. Well, like I was saying, like, it's this last year, I feel like more and more people are so awake, and it's like so much easier to convey what I'm trying to say and what you're trying to say. You know, like, almost you don't have to be so coded about it, but having the code system and then seeing the links and the strong links, being able to really visually map it out, and then when you really hear, like, I'm gonna scroll it out, it's a little behind the delay to see it on the screen, but, like, when you start to really map out and see what the big major hubs are and all the overarching connection, because exactly, like, one hand washes the other, and big hands don't want to get as dirty as the little hands, so what little hands are they using along the way? And there's these people, like, you'll have never heard of them, but they're smack dab in the middle of some heinous shit, especially heinous crimes, you know, involving children.
Exactly. And I feel like it becomes a code where once you understand, like, once you understood, like, the way I was communicating the same thing, and then you making yours, it's like, then you get the code, and now you can just see it and apply it when you're gathering new information. And I feel like that was the code that was cracked. When I initially started the board, was like, oh, now I just see it. Now I see it. Now it's a code.
Well, this is why I want you to have the credit. Like, I know you're saying you don't believe in intellectual property, but this is why I wanted to make sure I'm doing it with, like, as a tribute to what you did, because for me to unlock in my brain to even get to this, it was a lot. And then the fear of it, because this is like, we're going against some big shit. And you spooked me out seeing, like, at the top of your board, like, I'm like, oh, she's going for it. Like, I'm not going there. So, like, you know, kudos both ways, you know what I mean?
And I think, too, I was a little rebellious on where I could go. But a lot of this coming out of hiatus has now been not necessarily challenging what's censored, but sifting through, even so, what's being presented in front of us, right? And re-looking at it. Because I think they have a tendency now to know, okay, if the veil's lifted, how can we manipulate the illusion even more so? So I think this necessary hiatus was good, because I feel like I finally have fresh eyes. actually have fresh eyes, where I'm not susceptible to maybe being confused intentionally, right? Like, I never want to get too arrogant. I think an ego death on the way a couple times is important.
Yeah. Well, you definitely were humbled a little bit there when you got nuked there. Fucking, yeah. Like, obviously, all of that's part of it. It's part of, like, the rebirth. And
I think I wasn't necessarily expecting them to really keep trying to silence me, right? Like, I thought if I kind of allowed them to think they got me, that it would be fine, but I was like, oh, no. They actually ease up more when I do talk. They like to duel. I think I realized that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, they won't ever leave you, so you might as well talk.
Yes. No, literally. And it's chaos agents.
What you said.
I started calling them chaos agents because you can, when you're really starting to, like, you can feel that there's literally, it's a literal, digital, spiritual, psychological war. And they do like to duel. And I've noticed it too. The more I've just been speaking up and being more confident and assertive about it, the less fuckery happening in the background. Like, it's like they're like, oh shit, it's not working, we're gonna have to try something new and inventive to get at this person. And I've been seeing the different bots and shit coming through, and I figured out what certain things to block, to just be like, you know what, I don't need this noise, they're wasting my time and energy. Like, energy vampires trying to come through and drain through comments and different things, like trying to poke, but like, you see it, you get it, and I think at this point it's like coming back as a veteran almost now to the good fight. Now you've retreated, you know.
And still kind of, I think I needed that optimism. I just see here in the chat, rookie. I needed the curiosity of that rookie spirit. I think they can kind of get you caught up in the cynicism of seeing it all and not really knowing how to alchemize the knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But kind of sitting in this chat, and even tonight, I'm like, oh no, yeah, we have made progress. There's no reason to be jaded, or at least so jaded that you abandon the mission. So seeing this map, I'm like cheesing right now, because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do a lot of work with this.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
Especially because I think looking back, even now, we just keep getting these seeds, right? Like, with the most recent, I was reading an article today, catching up about Sasha, right? And kind of like, wow, Des, this goes back to John Bonet, because my mom brought up Sasha and was talking about an adopted child whose father was a pilot, and I'm like hearing the buzzes again.
Oh shit, okay. And yeah, see, you understand the politics and stuff better too. You've got like the insider view on that side, where this is where, yeah, fill me in. John Bonet.
Like, okay, well, where's the military? And I started doing the same thing again. And I realized that I was being called back to the work when, for some reason, my FYP kept showing me John Bonet, and it was a bunch of Burke Did It videos.
Oh, yeah.
Like, somebody is trying to agitate me enough to start talking again.
Yes, yeah. Well, at least you know now.
I'm suddenly getting flooded with Burke Did It videos. That means I need to come back and continue the work.
Yeah.
And then this Sasha of it all came up
of
recently,
course.
And I'm like, okay.
But this is it. It's like you'll keep getting the call, right? Like it's gonna keep. It's like, and it's the shine too, in a way. Like it's gonna keep poking you and prodding you. And the more you try to dull the shine or get away from it, the more loud in your brain it's gonna be, And it's just like it won't let you be, So I get it. And the way you get pulled back sometimes too, it's kind of wild and it's sometimes unexpected. But like this Reiner thing, man, the amount of dots that just so rapidly connected from like just the very beginning of doing this research, and like where it all started with the River Phoenix situation and how it all circles back now. It's just like you get the confirmation,
all the
like
in the mix, and
like let it be a confirmation for you
this
too.
Is the same line, and I realize we're on live, so I'm like.
Oh yeah, don't forget we're on live.
When
yeah.
you came into my inbox about Reiner, I was like, I felt like, when a superhero is called after being gone.
Yeah.
come back one more time, put the cape on, because I was like, this is actually bigger. And I almost like needed some time for it to blow over a little bit more. Because that initial static, I was like, is anybody else seeing this? And then of course you're in my inbox and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we got the same alert.
Not obvious.
The same alert hit the shiny airwaves or whatever, eh? But, like, it kind of took me a minute to really absorb what this all implied for a second, too. And then just, like, what you had said first, I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely coming into play. Because he did do that, it was going to be a 13-episode thing that he had pitched back in 2021, and it got shut down. So I do think, in a sense, the politics is coming into play, especially with when you go back to the year 2000 and how that connects so many of these dots, like the Tommy Lee, the Victoria Jones, Tommy Lee Jones thing is very much connected to the Rob Reiner thing, and who they were supporting then. It was a lot of Voldemorts all at once. I'll just say that. Like, and you start digging into it,
like throw in Sean Penn. Where was Sean Penn?
Where is he, actually? I don't think I have him on here yet. Like, this is still such early stages, and I'm gonna have to move so much stuff. But
you know, he's like,
he's in there. He's But
he's always at the scene.
You're luckily like your shine is like you said, from another side of the attic. Like, it's the same pile of mess in the middle, right? And we're just shining the flashlight from a different side. I'm like, oh, look at this mess over here. Look at it. Now we can almost get through to your mess. Like,
well, when you put up Jeepers Creepers, I was like, oh, okay, yes, begrudgingly I will go. But I mean, Reiner is such an anthill, right? Like, if you whack the Reiner hill, so many people scurry out, and I feel like that's what you're constructing that anthill right before us. Like,
yeah,
I'm just seeing these names, and I'm like, yeah, this is one that matters, and I feel like I was whacking one that's maybe a couple decades after, but yeah, I'm in awe. Because I'm even just reading, like, Crazy Gun and all of that, you're kind of blowing my head up.
Oh, geez. Like, and this is just the beginning, and I'm so pleased, because, like, honestly, like, this is, I can't say it enough, like, this is, you did this. This is your brainchild. Like, I want you to know that. Like, you keep singing my praises, but this is, you did this too. Like, this is you're part of this in a big way. Like, and I could see where you're going to take your thing, and if you end up using this, or if you keep doing your wall, however you're doing it, like, keep doing what you're doing, because you're unlocking things for other people in a big way. Like, you unlocked this for me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to take as much credit for this, and it's literally, like, the patterns are revealing themselves, like, between the BuzzFeed thing and the Victoria Jones, like, they can't hide it anymore, because that's, like, huge highlights of the exact same thing, you know what I mean? Like, it all points back to the, you know?
I feel like, seeing the way that you're kind of putting this division, I foresee it being giant, right? Like, in my mind, it all connects.
Well, look at this.
Kind of splitting it up.
Like, you can't see it yet, but look how big this goes.
To, like, kind of uncover.
Look how big this goes, and it's forever, and then you can zero in, and you won't see it just yet because there's a delay on the stream, but when you'll see it on the screen in a second, like, you can go all the way. This could be your whole brain, your whole fucking brain.
And I think, too, like, with the board, at a certain point, I'm like, well, I only have so much square footage.
Right? Like, yeah, there's only so much wall.
There's so much kind of missing, but yeah, I'm just seeing the possibilities now, because at a certain point, it's like, yeah, I was very analog, but I knew that there had to be a way for me to keep it, you know, simple from a legal standpoint.
Yes.
Just off base, but just seeing the way you formulated this, I'm like, okay, I can do it digital.
You totally can. And this is newer.
I was very anti-digitalizing.
I know, but this is also new, too, because honestly, like, when I was looking into this, and your map thing, and I was like, if I was going to do it, I would probably have to do it digital, just, like, because I was on the move and stuff, too, and just, yeah, like, as far as the space on a wall, like, what wall would I even use for what I'm trying to do here? But when I was looking at your wall, like, I could see where you were putting them in clusters and where those lines connected. Like, I could see it so clear. I was like, this is fucking incredible. Like, my brain is on your wall.
The yarn, but I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is like a living piece now, and it was very much Justin in the chat. Pepe Sylvia, I was literally like, I'm Charlie in the mailroom. Like, You know, like, you can throw up anybody and I could probably tie it back in. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was stuck on Tatum O'Neal forever.
Oh,
Like,
fuck. The Tatum, that situation,
going
Ryan
in and
O'Neal,
out.
and then the Polanski, Melanie Griffin, like, you went right into that whole, that all connects back to the Drew. Also, did you see that video? They did the, like, PSA for drugs with Corey Feldman, Drew Barrymore, and then Tatum O'Neal as the counselor at the rehab facility that Drew had stayed in for 18 months. And very shortly after that, Tatum had like 5 years sobriety, but very shortly after that, she got sucked right back in and everything spiraled out of control.
And I feel like it has something to do with when that same coffee shop that Drew was working at when she was quote-unquote sober and out of Hollywood. And I feel like that was a trap front.
Oh, Cameron Diaz came back in and fucking, oh, yep. Yep.
Yeah, right? Like,
Yep.
those, like, staged front spots that they would, like, kind of drag them back in.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many parallels to, like, Drew's story, like you just said, Cameron, so many of them, where it's, like, all coming back in my head. But somebody said in the chat that Hollyweird is so big. That I think that's, like, where I kind of hit a wall, was I'm just, like, I gotta put this somewhere, because the board to me was, like, valuable, even though it's just, like, paper and pen. I'm like, there's so much here. I don't want to, like, scrap it, but I was getting into, like, really crazy territory. Like, I was over in India.
Yeah, you went,
So,
like,
yeah.
all the way and into, like, oh, shit, yeah, that's a
I was
whole...
in mineral mines in Africa. Going from Hollywood entertainment to mineral mines in Africa and it being a straight line was enough for me to be like, I need more real estate.
Yeah, well, and that's, like, this is where you were filling in so many blanks for me, where I was like, holy shit, yeah, like I said, yeah, doing from my end to your end, and, like, you filling in, like, you were filling in the blank spaces, where I was like, I would have never made that connection, but you have enough of that, you kind of know about the military and the other, I don't know, you've got, like, the other vision from the other side, you know, I don't know, there's no better way to say it, but I was like, literally, like, it's ditto, you know, everything you're saying right now, like, this is what you did for me by me seeing your wall the first time. So, I'm glad I could do it back for you. Like, I'm glad I could return it.
We're like a unity of opposites. We're, like, so similar, but also opposite in our just everything, that it works, because I couldn't have found somebody. I never thought this was going to be a group project. I just started putting sticky notes on my wall one day to try to explain to people that it was bigger than Diddy. But, you know, here we are. And I think, too, there's so many players, but I always try, and I don't know about you, but I always try to go the path least, like, not even of least resistance, like, less traveled. So when a bunch of people would flood my comments and be like, oh, it's, 13 families, and I'm like, okay, maybe, but, like, what about all of these people right here?
Yeah.
Like,
there's rot from the bottom to the top.
Like, I can't overlook and skip to these people, and I'm telling you, if it's a link on the CIA.gov, I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to go the scenic route before I take their shortcut.
Yeah.
But when I looked at it from the bigger perspective, I'm like, well, yeah, we're just watching the old Coliseum. Like, we're just watching the circus and bread.
Yeah. Moving on. Yeah.
Time.
Well, this is where it's like, I think that people don't realize we have to chip away at the bottom, because the rot goes from the bottom to the top. And if you take down the bottom of the house of cards, the whole thing crumbles. And this is where we have to identify the little guys like Timothy Busfield and where he fits into the whole thing. Where this Roger Burnham, whatever the fuck his name is, Roger Birnbaum, how he fits into things. Like, there's all these little people where they, like, come in, they do 4 or 5 movies, but that's an arrangement. There isn't a business arrangement, and they've made a fuck ton of money doing their 4 or 5 B movies that have a shit ton of kids in them. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, you can't come right out and say stuff, but, like, Bug Hall said a lot of stuff about being first
a ton of stuff that never sees the light of day.
Right? And he got silenced. Like, that video got suppressed so hard when I did it, because I was kind of coming out and saying it. So, like, this is where I'm going to say Voldemort and stuff now. But Bug Hall the first movie was The Little Rascals, which is a TDW Theory movie, which actually, I don't know, I haven't filled you in on the TDW Theory thing yet, but basically I kind of explained it. It's just movies that, like, already doing the movie has done trauma to the kid. Like, whether or not something happened behind the scenes, it's a trauma movie. Like, Bug Hall had to run around in his tighty whities for, like, 25 minutes just for the movie, so imagine how many hours he was running around with the whole crew, all these cameras, all these angles, all these creepers.
The sexual innuendos and all of that.
But then he went on to say that the abuse continued after that movie, and it followed him from movie to movie within the Disney sphere. And when you start connecting back these specific movies to certain random companies that were like a throwaway, and then who they connect back to, like, the pipeline is there. The pipeline is there. You can't deny that part of it. The patterns, you can't deny. The convictions, you can't deny. And yeah, it's like a coded system of saying it without saying it and being protected. And they're doing it themselves. Like, as the cookie crumbles with, like, Victoria Jones now coming in the mix, the Timothy Busfield, all of this, it all connects in such a way. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, this is such dangerous territory for, like, fine line between genius and insanity, too.
Well,
like,
even the chat talking about Elon's dad, it's like, well, Elon went to UPenn, where DT allegedly went, where Benjamin Yahoo went, where Mario's little brother went. Like, there are so many connections. If you have an icky feeling about Earl, and that is then, you know, Apple Tree, they're all connected to other very icky entities. Like, Tez knows that my biggest thing in the John Benet Ramsey case is our Augustine and Lockheed Martin and all of his missing children.
Yeah.
Like, the kids you can't find around him.
Yeah, that one's weird.
People.
That one is so weird, the Norman Augustine of it all. Yeah.
You're
better at this.
You know what I mean? It's I don't go looking for Boy Scouts. I don't go looking for the Mormons. I don't go looking for the Freemasons. They find me in everything.
Yeah.
And that relates back to when I was in entertainment and ended up in the mineral mines of Africa, and I'm in, you know, all up in the thieves of Africa, and then I see the Rothschilds, or like the Rothschilds, right?
Yeah.
But I don't go looking for them, right?
No, you're like following the breadcrumbs.
Like shortcut.
You're following the breadcrumbs to the forest, and it's leading you to the witch trying to eat the kids.
Yeah, and I'm like, I
Hansel and Gretel.
Follow what I follow, and then when I find them, I'm like, oh,
yes.
Well, if you guys are here, everyone's here.
That's the shine. That's the like, and that's how I fall into these holes too. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize where I was going, but I'm here now. Okay, here we are. Yes. And then here's the thing, the first
Jenny
movie,
in
you know.
The chat, Fleet White. Yeah, that's another one. All of the guests at the Christmas party, looking at, you know, Patsy's dad's tombstone. I think it was in 2020 or maybe 2021. That, I mean, after all of my life researching Jean Benet, but when Don finally passed and he put that 33 in the double-headed eagle on his gravesite, I knew checkmate on all of us. I was like, thank you.
Yes, which you were helping with my research at that time.
You know, North Fox, but you connect her just, when you see people are in the red light district, they're in Amsterdam, they have pilot license, everybody can fly a plane, all their kids
the little islands, Mackinac and all that too.
Yeah, Beaver Island. All of these ingredients, you know what's going on.
Yeah, you're so much better at keeping up with the chat. You could tell you're way more seasoned of doing, like, the chat interacting for the mind map, because you're, like, on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, the chat, shit. I should be actually doing the chat. But you're like, oh, this guy in the chat, and I'm like...
speaking my language, where I'm just like, yeah, when you think about, you know, finance, defense, technology, you know, and anything, like, when you're talking about making movies and stuff, it's like, well... all of the photography, movies, and photographs that are connected to John Ramsey, right? It's like, why are all these things connected? Yeah,
and like you just fall into it.
The most recent to come out, you know, talking about things that are very much connected in the John Benet of it all, right? Like, he sounds like, if, like, when people are like, okay, why didn't you come forward sooner? What he says reminds me of what I would assume Burke would say. What did they make Burke do, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, and then the Barnhills saying they did see the older brother that day, and then they were strongly suggested to say they didn't, and the DNA and the suitcase, and there's so much more that, like, it's time. It's time. Let's, like, rip back the curtain, and we're done playing footsies here, you know, like pussyfooting around the reality of it all, right?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, and when you see the behaviors over and over, like somebody in the chat talking about Patsy, it's like there's a reason JonBenet and Patsy were both described as little animatrons, little robots, little, you know, there are certain unnatural aspects to these kids that are forced into the public eye, but...
Yeah, well, it's pride in the programming.
She was hiatus.
Yeah.
Dropping my link, I'm like, yes, I will get tech savvy. I think that's what this is telling me. I need to get on the net with you guys.
Yeah, man. Well, no, and I'm so, like, a huge, you know, that I'm a huge supporter of the preserve physical media and take down everything physically. Like, I did start on a wall with sticky notes, and I have the strings. I have a map that I was mapping out. Like all of these fundamentalist groups that believe in the child marriage and how those hubs connect to other certain hubs. Like, I had a wall going at one point, and then I just, like, as soon as I discovered this, I was like, this is it. This is the answer to actually really get everything in one spot and to be able to put the notes and to make the connections, and it makes sense. And the way that it all moves, to be able to move stuff around and section it out, and, like, being able to just grab huge sections to just, like, if I want to move this section here, I can just grab that and move that out of the way to add in more. Like, it's this is it. This is the tools. We're getting more weapons for our arsenal in this digital warfare situation. Because this is newer.
And I think, too, it's like now you've got my hands kind of buzzing where I'm like, you know, the last place I left off was Mario's little brother and JonBenet, where I was like, I think I'm playing with fire and I don't know what to do. But I think there are quite a few places that I'll need your help, Tez, because we have a lot to embark on this year.
Oh, the places we'll go.
Yes.
No, of course. Like, and like your brain is there. It's just like getting the tools in your hands and, like, letting you run wild with it. You know, like.
I have a fear of you're better. You're less compulsive when it comes to, like, I don't know, I always feel like I'm afraid to be the next Oppenheimer. I'm like, I don't want to give somebody something that could send them in the wrong direction, but I have to give more trust to people.
Yeah. Well, if you build it, they will come. Like, the right tribe will find you. You don't have to worry about them.
To care for themselves.
Yeah, like, they know what they're doing. They're here for a reason, and, like, the way that the algorithms are matching people with creators and viewers and everything now is, like, I'm seeing it's way more like, organically bringing the right people in, you know what I mean? Like, the people know what's going on. You're not having to pussyfoot around as much. Like, you can say a thing and they already know what you mean. You don't have to, like, over-explain around the bush for them to see the bush, you know what I mean?
I think it definitely helped that I had taken that, I'm coming back from the hiatus, and a lot of what I was getting into, you know, on my last account or all of that, and then to see with the 50 Cent documentary and everything I was saying was out in the open. People were having the conversation, and I felt a bit of my ego be kind of like, well, yeah, I said that last year, guys. Like, I told you guys this was a show trial. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think when you step out of the conversation, you can't be upset when people pick it up. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad people were having these conversations. But I'm like, but are you just going to revel in the details, or are you going to apply this larger?
Yeah.
And then I got the sense to realize that people like you and I are meant to expand the conversation with others. So yeah, but it that frustration brought me back, where I'm like, well, you know, had you not stopped talking about it, maybe, you know,
you needed it though.
At a different point.
You needed to take that.
Who knows?
That
That's
break.
Why I love all hands on deck.
Yeah. Oh, is this not working? Hold on. Oh, there we go. It's back. That's, like, yeah, like, I think you needed time to recharge from it, though, and just the whole, like, everything you were getting, so many attacks from different sides, like, the whole cyber terrorism shit that was going on for you, like, We
Oh
all
my
need time to
gosh. And like
retreat.
different
And don't worry
entities.
about
But I'm
it.
like, who's sending these? Like, it was almost like, when the Furies are sent, Greek mythology, when the Furies are sent after you
Yeah.
to induce that insanity. But I can't thank the chat enough. Anybody that's subscribed, I actually am updating a lot of my links, a lot of information. I could say that I stared into the abyss stared back, and somehow I survived.
Yeah.
So if anybody, please, Tez, bring me on for any other chats. I'm not gonna hijack your live stream. I'm so grateful I got to hang out with you and your clique. I think you and I need to schedule a time.
Yes.
And we should definitely do another one of these live calls again. And maybe
Definitely.
then I'll, have a little something revamped for any links or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because now I'm feeling like I need to go do some housekeeping.
Sorry, I'm like putting the spotlight and you're
prepared,
like,
but
sorry.
this has definitely been a call back to the mission. So
yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad you came in.
Thank you, Justin, for repeating the links. Deborah, everybody in the chat, and I'm gonna let you guys go because I can ramble. But I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you.
No, you've been awesome.
I'm excited. The fact that you're giving me credit for any of this, Tez, please, like, you're the guardian angel, but we give and we take to each other. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Of course. Well, thank you for joining us and coming out and checking out what we're doing over here. And yeah, like, it's in the description too, all the links. But like, I didn't really know where you wanted me to send them. I linked to your board of entertainment, and then I linked just to your YouTube. So, but yeah, get on YouTube, get stuff going. We'll get you. Like, I'll help you with whatever.
I've gotten better with my visuals. You've seen me practicing and such. I think I can. We're not gonna talk about limits this year. We're just gonna do the thing. We're gonna release the ego. So thank you guys so much for being gracious enough to have me even on the call and to indulge me.
Well, thanks for having time to join. It kind of lined up perfect. I'm glad that you had some time to jump on with us.
And I'm not usually one for spontaneous drop-ins, but you got me. So yes, divine shine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All the time. Thank you.
I will talk to you soon.
Cheers. Bye. Right on. I'm glad that she's approving of it, because it was, like I said, it is a big part of it was inspired by her work and what she was doing over there. So I was kind of like, I want to make sure it's, with a tribute to, and not that, like, and I guess, like she said too, we're all trying to do the good fight here, and it's, we're all in this together. It is a group project, and that's the point too. Like, once I've got the map out of what I know and everything that makes sense to me, it is a group project, and you guys in the chat that make suggestions or see links that I don't see, like, this is how this is going to end up being a bigger thing, and it can go on forever. It literally is, there is no limit. There is no limit. Like, we could go on, and I thought I might end up having to do some different maps to, like, zero in on certain sections, like, just for this one studio between the It's a Laugh and the Hollywood Center, what used to be Hollywood Center Studios. It's now called Sunset Las Palmas Studios. That alone could be its own sphere for the amount of darkness within that, and all the different shows, like 12 different Disney shows were filmed at that. Oh, did I not leave the fucking, oops. I didn't hang up, my bad. She hung up, I didn't hang up. That's okay. But there's so much just within these spheres, and then when you get into the pipeline from the Disney into the music side of stuff, like, there's one whole sphere there. Like, there's so many more deeper holes we could go into here, but as far as, like, the mega map, this is what we're looking at, and I think, you guys it makes sense if, to do access, once I've got a little more, like I said, complete, and with the notes, because this might be, like I said, this might be a slightly older version, so my notes aren't showing up, because I've had filled in notes for these studios over here. Oops. Nope, we don't want to move that. Come back. There we go. These studios, the red... What is it? Shit. It's kind of jumping around. Hold on. Red Studios Hollywood. Oh, there we go. This studio and this studio... There's a lot going on there. So I had put notes of what all the different shows and everything that goes with them. So it's not showing them now. So I'll have to figure out how to keep the notes sticking And eventually, yeah, once I got it pretty much filled in for what I know and it's like current, then I think we'll do a link to it so people can view it at their leisure and look closer, and then if they want to drop in a chat whatever suggestions. It's going to be a group project in such a way, but obviously protecting, like, I'm not going to let people go in and edit it, but I think the more eyeballs, the more minds, the more brains, everybody clearing out different ends of the, if we all clean the attic together, it could be a much cleaner attic for everyone. This whole society, we're all got to clear out, forget waiting for somebody else to clean the swamp or drain the swamp or come back and save us. Like, we got to do this. We got to look at it for what it is. They're not going to tell us who's good and who's bad. It's all about PR and, having the right image and the right, whatever, setting the trend, setting the style, all this shit. But we're not given an informed decision of who we should be celebrating or idolizing ever, because none of it's real. It's all a facade. They're all doing public relations and public image. There's training for that. People go to school for that shit, right? So we got to look at it. We got to figure out who these people are by their associations and by their criminal histories and by their, how many lost souls and dead kids are lying in their wake in and around, so many different areas that they connect back to, right? So, I mean, I don't know where this exactly is going from here or how we're going to make it work. Like, Drew on her own is such a huge hub, but because I've already done, like, I did the and there's actually more. There's still a third part to come out for that, but that already is like 5 hours of Drew Barrymore footage and everything that connects back to her, all the connections that Desi was just mentioning, the Tatum O'Neal and all of that, and then Corey Feldman. Like, the Drew Barrymore and the Charlie Sheen videos are probably like the best place to start to see where there's missing chunks on this. Like, there's so much more to go into all of this that I haven't filled in yet, but it's probably because I've done a video. I've covered it extensively, and like as I'm gonna go, I'll be filling it in more. Because Drew on her own is a pretty big hub, and then Charlie Sheen, pretty big hub for where he finds himself, and he makes certain claims that whatever, like, people want to think what they want to think with the Corey Haim situation. I won't go into it too deep right now, but when you look at his connections and where he fits in, he was very good friends with Brian Peck. He was very good friends with Bob Villard. All these people, I probably got to move you over a little more. All of this going on over here, it says something about a person, and then people should be able to look at that and make up their own minds instead of taking their word for it, of what, as the story goes, right? Like, there's a lot of spin doctoring when it comes to the truth. And you can see that right now with the Reiner thing and how they're twisting old footage of Nick and how they're treating the whole situation and then saying, oh, his lawyer quit or he withdrew, when literally, like, the first thing Alan Jackson said was it was beyond his and Nick's control. Like, it just happened that way, but he still supports him, and he doesn't believe he's guilty. He said he is not guilty. From all the discovery they did, from everything they understand, he is not guilty of murder. But the way that the media, like certain outlets, certain platforms spin that of, oh, the lawyer gave up on him, he withdrew, he quit, oh, they did this or they did that or whatever. Like, people are making these storylines that just aren't the truth. And we deserve to have the truth. We have the right to have the truth. We have the right to ethical and moral reporting, like, there should be ethics when it comes to, but there's not. There's no laws against them lying to you. There's no laws against clickbait and, So, together, as a group, here we are, And, what are we at? Oh, we're just over an hour. I guess that's not too bad. Maybe go another hour and chit-chat here, and I'll catch up with you guys more in the chat. I gotta get better at doing the interacting with the chat. I had stopped doing lives for so long, and I kind of just jumped back on the horse, and then I'm like, they had changed so much stuff on the back end, and I'm still, like, doing the grandpa way of streaming, like, using the old softwares and all this stuff. So, getting back and acquainted with that, and then catching up, staying caught up with the chat. I will get better at that, so it will be a little more of the group project. But yeah, they're all living two lives, and like, if we want to keep using the Voldemort, the Harry Potter references, like, she basically said it for us with Professor Quirrell being like this meek, innocent, like, harmless seeming guy, but he's the Two-Face that's got Voldemort on the back of his head. You know, like there's some truth to what J.K. Rowling, like she was weaving us a mind map in a way of, you know, and when you think about like the 7 Horcruxes, where Voldemort had split himself in 7 pieces and put it into 7 different entities to conserve his power or whatever, to then come back and as a whole to try to hurt the kids, basically, right? All of that is saying something. Like there's probably 7, obviously, you know, there's the 13 families and all that, but there's 7 major entities that maybe we should be looking at as being the overall Voldemort of it all. You know what I mean? Like there's more going on here, and as a group, you know, we can't wait till Dumbledore gets back from his business meeting. If the school is being attacked and kids' lives are in danger, we have to get together and have our own defense against the dark arts, and, you know, use their own tools against them. Like, and we have all the same access to tools, like that they're using for propaganda, and they're using to spin narratives, and they're using to try to keep the illusion. We can use those same tools to fight through and show the truth as much as possible, as you know, from as many other angles as possible. You know, I one thing I say all the time is, like, every drop in the ocean of influence counts, and you don't need to be an influencer to help make waves of change. And, you know, we're all in this. It's not really, like, they want us to be divided, but trauma sees no language, it sees no color, it sees no culture, religion, none of that. And that's the one thing they don't want us to be united on, and that's the one big underlying root cause of a lot of issues in society. And so if we can get together, we can start peeling back the layers of generational trauma and the ways that we've been almost groomed in the same ways, like that all these child actors, all these people we grew up that sacrificed their childhood for our entertainment as kids, in the same sense, a lot of that material that we were watching was also grooming us and normalizing certain things and shaping society in such a way. And that's stuff that we have to start looking at more closely too. And I think as we're mapping it out and we're all getting more on the same page, you know, like I think all of us in a way are all reading the same book. We're just all on different pages right now, right? Yeah, they all connect too. Well, and that's where in Hollywood's hidden curriculum, I go way more into all of that, Deborah. Because obviously you can only do and say so much, and like what Desi was saying of like there is danger to certain things and speaking about certain things and how you have to use the language and certain coding, color coding and things to make it make sense without really making any specific allegations, or you got to cover yourself legally and then also spiritually and digitally and psychologically, right? So that's all there. The TW theory paints it out in such a way of like the visual, what's being normalized and being pumped into our brains, and what we're shown as kids and how that affects us and them, the kids doing it. And then Hollywood's hidden curriculum, that's the playbook and how it connects all of that. So maybe I'll do another post about what that's more about, and maybe actually I should just do a video about what TW theory is and about the book, and just so everybody kind of knows better what's going on, because sometimes I just kind of put things out there and then I don't know, I think everybody as a creator at some point has like a bit of that like imposter syndrome, like, and they second guess themselves, or they have doubts, or they have certain things that'll hold them back from going full force on a direction or in such a way. And like this year, there's no more limits. Like the same with Desi would just say, no more limits, no more hitting brick walls, no more holding back, because like this is the time to advance on all fronts. Like this is the good fight. We've like a lot of people have been fighting the same fight for decades, you know, and with the amount of progress we've seen this last year, I know it's making a difference. You know, other creators are getting activated again and coming back online. Other people that are from within the sphere, like Corey Feldman I can see him reactivating and re-energizing. You know, we have Bug Hall out there still saying things, and there's people now, more and more voices, and like not to keep referencing Horton Hears a Who, and like the whole theme is Dr. Zeus apparently this week or month or whatever. But Horton Hears a Who is all the voices together, like, so also as an extension to the Toto, pulling back the curtain, everybody together. Horton Hears a Who is like all the little people on the dandelion all yelling together in unison, and it breaks through the sound barrier so everybody can hear that there's the little people that matter on the dandelion, and the big elephant has the ears so he could hear them the whole time. And everyone thought he was crazy that he was hearing the little voices on the dandelion, and he's like, no, we have to save the little people on the dandelion, and they thought he was nuts. But then all their voices together, they broke that sound barrier, and all the bigger people could understand what was going on there. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that right now. And it's the children who matter most. They are the little people that matter the most. And it's up to us to figure out the world for them. A lot of us grew up in a really fucked up situation. A lot of us, I know in this tribe specifically, has faced, for the most part, I know a lot of us have some kind of trauma, some kind of complex trauma from childhood. And that's what's brought us all here. In a way, or just the curiosity maybe of the map right now. But I know a lot of the regulars, we're all kind of on the same page that we all went through some shit and we know there's something wrong. We're all trying to be the generational curse breaker. We're all like the misfits and the black sheep and the scapegoats or whatever of our family, trying to speak the truth and been made out to be the crazy one, to be made out to be the problem because we won't just fall into line and go along with the crazy of our family. Whatever it might be, we're all here for a reason, right? And this is the year, no holding back for everyone. Start posting the stuff. Even if you're on your socials, people think you're crazy, sharing stuff about, child traffic jams and crazy stuff going on in society. Like, be that person. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be shy. Who cares if some people think you're crazy? A year later, they'll be like, oh shit, you were right. What's coming next? Like, that's what we're experiencing now. And that's kind of what Desi was saying, is like all this stuff she had been going so full force and saying, and then kind of got pushed into a retreat for a little bit. It was all coming back into play. Like, this is everything she was saying like a year ago, and now it's coming into play in the 50 Cent documentary or whatever now, right? So don't hold back. So if you feel it and you know that truth and you've done the research and you feel confident about it, put it out there. And you might just be the first there. That's all. People think you're weird, but everybody looks crazy. Like, people that are dancing look crazy to the people that can't hear the music, right? So be you, do you, whatever it is that you can offer this good fight, whatever it is that you feel that you want to do within that, in your community, with that Nick Shirley thing we were watching here the other day and keeping an eye on, of how he just revealed so much fraud and corruption within the, state and federal level within Minnesota or whatever there. And he didn't even realize, I don't think, what he was fully revealing. He thought it was just fraud, but I think there was so much bigger things going on there when you consider the different companies that were all involved in that organized crime syndicate. It's like one more step away from being a child traffic jam. So there's that. And all these little people that are just out here doing independent journalism or sharing or inquiring about places near them in your own locale, like shady places that are apparently a daycare, but the place looks like a freaking strip club. No windows. Yeah, maybe somebody should look into that. And if the people on this, in the local government, or if the local news isn't doing enough about it, what's stopping you from going and knocking on some doors and being like, hey, what's going on here, Oh, well, that's they're all part of the Ozempics. The Ozempic games. Like, there's some competition right now among certain spheres. And it's scary because they're messing with, that's an experiment. I don't think there's enough time to know for sure if what those things are doing to you. And there's been a lot of lawsuits over the years for special diet wonder drugs doing awful things to people. And just in general, look now how many, farmers need farm animals to stay in business. And the more damage that is done along the way trying to fix a problem, the more that they have to give you to fix it, the more money they make. You know what I mean? So it's a very, it's a conflict of interest in a big way. So even with that, you got to really start to think of, don't follow that lead. Look at what it's doing now, to people, look at our Ariana Grande, look at Kelly Osbourne right now. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not idolize pumping your face full of chemicals and putting chemicals in your body to try to meet some ideal that doesn't exist. All these ideals that were fed to you for decades are Photoshop. And then people are trying to meet the ideals of their own Photoshopped pictures in the industry, to the point that now we have the Ozempics, the Ozempic games. Cynthia and fucking Ariana Grande are in the lead. And it's terrifying because, holy shit, those poor people disintegrating before our eyes. And they're just I know there's probably something more going on with Ariana Grande, because she started speaking more about what her realizations were after the Quiet on Set documentary came out, and when reflecting back on all those weird scenes that they had her in, and how her mother just allowed that. And then whatever didn't make it on the show, because the executives said, oh no, that's too much. We can't just have this kid sucking her feet in every fucking episode, you sick fuck. That content that didn't make it in the episode went onto the website. So she was realizing, looking back, nobody was protecting me. Same with Bug Hole. Looking back in his video that he had posted, it was like an hour-long testimonial video a while back of no one was protecting me. Marisha Barton, no one was protecting me. Fucking Corey Feldman, no one was protecting me. The kids that can't speak for themselves, no one was protecting me. There was never, all these people, all these companies, all these agents, all these managers, all these fucking people in the industry to make all this shit go, and nobody is protecting the fucking kids. Because why? Why are the people doing these movies? Like, if something happens to River Phoenix on the set of a movie, maybe it's a crew person, maybe it's a cameraman, maybe it's a lights guy, maybe it's a stunt guy. Why, though, is the people in charge of that movie not being held responsible for the safety of the people on their fucking set? Right? Like, why are we doing this so ass backwards this whole time? Why are we protecting these Wizards of Oz while we got munchkins hanging from a tree? Right? So that's where we're at. That's where we're going. Maybe that's a good spot to leave it at. That passionate fucking... I'm getting fired up. Leonardo DiCaprio, nobody protected him. He's in here too. And Brian Peck, so speaking of how long and how fucking ridiculously this infection has gone on forever and nobody doing anything, Brian Peck originally was working on Growing Pains with a young Leonardo DiCaprio, which he should be on here somewhere. There he is. Leo's on here. Working with a young Leonardo DiCaprio. That whole time he was there. Leonardo DiCaprio was represented by Bob Villard, who made bank selling topless photos of the kids. He was doing headshots and photos for spreads for kids in the industry, and then he was selling racy photos of the kids. That he was giving them drugs and alcohol to get them to do racy photo shoots, which at first glance you don't think much of it, but for people that find gratification in that kind of shit, there's something going on there. And this is the shit we gotta peel back. But it goes all the way freaking back. It goes all the way back. And they connect all together to this P3DO den, which connects to the Disney Renaissance, which connects to... And it all connects back. It's the arms. The arms of the spider. Some spiders are bigger and their legs reach around in such a way. And that's what we're going to be doing here on these lives for the mind map, I guess, in the future. So if you want to follow that along, do that. Hit the notification thing so you get notified when I go live, because sometimes I don't know, sometimes those don't even work, but we'll be here sometimes doing this. If you haven't checked out the TW Theory thing yet, do that. Pretty much, like I said, everything, it is over on Patreon, but everything on Patreon is free. Just about. If it's not, it will be soon. Paid members just get early access, and obviously it just helps keep the lights on and keep me being able to do this full-time front lines of the good fight, because there's not really incentive in the truth, and for the amount of shit that comes at people along the way, I kind of have to play the game enough in a way and have other... can't have all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. So if you do want to support the cause, there are tiers and other little features and benefits over there with the Patreon. And or if you want to get in on the pre-order of the Hollywood's Hidden Curriculum, all that is helpful too. But it is all free, like everything on Patreon, all the information there, the TW Theory. I want to be able to have as much information freely available to people as possible, but while also being able to at least cover my bases. I think that's fair. So check that out, and what else? I don't know. If you haven't been following along with the Reiner thing, there's a lot of connections going on there that I do explain a lot more things in those videos. And then, I got to wrap up the Brittany Murphy final episode of that, and then we're going to be getting back to the Reiner series, the actual series, The Goodnight Daddy Dearest, because I got a ton of stuff prepped for that, and I've got, everything organized for what each episode is going to be basically now. It's just getting there, then kind of waiting to see with some of this trial stuff. Like, obviously, some of it's going to be reliant on finding out what's going on in the developments, but there's already a lot to cover just for the history of it, and all the reasons that why, even if he didn't commit parricide, why did he look shell-shocked at 7? Why was he dependent on heavy narcotics in his early teens? And why does it connect back to so many dead kids? Dead young people that didn't make it to 30, There's a lot going on there. When Ariana Grande said she hadn't taken a vacation in the Mind Racer, she's talking about, that was sort of a joke. She was like playing off of the Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, because her album was Eternal Sunshine, and that is the Mind Erasure Clinic in that movie. But she's talking about an EMDR clinic. She had started going to get EMDR therapy, which is basically a confirmation of a dissociative type disorder or a complex post-traumatic stress disorder type situation for her to be going to get that kind of therapy. So she's saying some things in a way without saying it also. You have to realize how many people are artists and the musicians and all these people. Like, a lot of them are trying to say things in their music and in their art and in their interviews without fully saying it. Because if anything, for them to come out and say stuff, it's even more dangerous for them, because it's not like they can just fall off the planet and nobody knows who they are. Like, a lot of these people are like known worldwide. You know, why do you think Britney Spears is never coming back to the States to play a show? Like, and she's gone off to wherever the heck she is and bouncing around and playing distractions of where she actually is and doing misleading posts and whatever. Like, she escaped the system. She had to unplug from the Matrix and escape the system, but she still wants to dance and sing and do her thing. But there's only so much, you know, that they can do while also being standing in their truth, right? So it's a delicate situation. And if anything, it takes more of the littler people speaking up for them. You know, like Corey Feldman's been trying to say stuff for years and years and years and thinking like he's throwing it into the wind, but there are people that have seen it and understand and are perpetuating what he's trying to say and, you know, looking into it themselves too. But it can get exhausting and tiring when you're putting yourself at that risk and being a figure like that. Like, the amount of tax that it invites between the media smearing and all that, it's so much of an onslaught for the people within the system that try to say things, you know, let alone for the people outside of the system trying to point it out. So this is where it's like why it's important that it's a group project, and why, like, you know, people that are doing the good fight and seeing the importance in that, because I think a lot of people go so hard in a direction and feel like they're not seeing progress that it can be self-defeating or kind of like deflating. You know, it like you lose energy along the way because it feels like you're going so hard and getting nowhere. But it's coming. The proof is in the pudding. The progress is there. We're seeing it. We're seeing people waking up more and more. And once you're awake, like once you've opened Pandora's box, you can't close it. And that's our greatest defense. Like that's what we got going for us, guys, because we don't got the unlimited money and power and connections and whatever that all these people do. But we got each other, right? So, and there's a lot more power in that. If you guys remember the Bug's Life. And actually, it's Kevin Spacey who does the speech, but there's that Bug's Life speech about keeping ants small and under control, because if they realize that they outnumber the crickets, they'll lose their way of life. Well, you know, so there's that. But I think, yeah, like, you got into a debate about the Finders last night. Oh, yeah, well, then there's all those little groups of people, like, in between it all, too. Like, there's so much more, and to be able to have stuff on a map in a way, and then to, like, zero in on certain spots on a map, and then have its own little map separate, like, I think it's going to make a lot more sense, because the way that all of that stuff connects, like, there's dirty hands in it, there's dirty hands out of it, and there's dirty hands from the bottom to the top. And it's all one big house of cards, right? And we're watching it fall before our eyes, so we gotta just keep picking away at these different, you know, different sides of it, different dots. Not Kevin Spacey doing kids movies, I know, right? But he was the villain. He's made a great villain the whole time, because probably he's a little bit of a villain in real life. His brother had a lot to say about how villainous he is. Yeah. Well, and that's something I've been talking about for years. One of my first big videos I had done was, like, Jim Carrey is not crazy. And that was, like, I guess a little bit of a precursor to doing the Dark Hollywood. Because I started seeing all these people calling these people crazy. And I'm like, these people aren't crazy. Jim Carrey is not fucking crazy. He's brilliant. He's damaged. He's not perfect. He's not completely innocent. But he's a brilliant mind trying to make it in this world just like everybody else. But yeah, there are crazy ties. She's a big fan. She was in his show Kidding. If you haven't seen Kidding, that fucking show says a lot, and there's a reason it only lasted 2 seasons, and there's a reason nobody's ever fucking heard of it. I guarantee you, if anybody, maybe 1 or 2 of you, but I can almost guarantee, like, the majority of you have not heard of the show Kidding. It says a lot. It says a lot. Also, Drew Barrymore's The Stand-In says a lot. Also, watch Donnie Darko if you haven't already, because I keep referencing that, because this case from the get-go, the Rob Reiner thing, it feels very much like the Menendez brothers meets Donnie Darko. So that's a one to check out. Also, Rosemary's Baby, Eyes Wide Shut, Soylent Green, The Network, How to Get Ahead in Advertising. Like, I could go on and on about some waking up movies if you guys are just getting here and for freshies to the awakening. Yeah. Yes, whether they're innocent or not, we get that some of them get put in precarious situations or are misled or are intoxicated and brought into situations. Like, we know some stupid shit happens. Everybody does stupid shit, but if you are on the team of let's stop harming and trespassing children, that's a good side to be on. I don't care if you wore somebody's ass as a hat at a fucking Hollywood party. If you saw something that was fucked up to do with kids, let's talk about it. We'll overlook the ass to mouth situation. You know what I mean? Like, let's stop being so fucking... no more secrets, right? Like, no more veils, no more smoke and mirrors. The truth is out there, and it will set us free. They Live, yes. Oh, fucking yes. How did I even forget that one? Yes. But there's a little bit of a list for you to start with. Yes, They Live. Like, how did I... Like, and they made those glasses, eh? They made those glasses where you can put them on and you can't see any ads or screens. Like, if you go to Times Square in New York or whatever, and you put the glasses on, you can't see any of the digital screen ads. Brilliant. Awesome. Love that. Love that for us. That we're starting to, everything's coming full circle. Oh, also, like, 1984. Read it. Probably, most of the things, just read them is better than watching it. But if you prefer visual learning and listening... the 1984, like Brave New World, all this stuff's coming into play right now. Matrix, of course. Well, like Red Pilled, everybody at least should know that. About Escape the Matrix. Well, Stranger Things originally was supposed to be called Montauk, and that was based on a project to do with experimenting with children. And Jim Carrey tried to tell us about it in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, and maybe this is why Ariana Grande is so obsessed with that movie. But there's the line, meet me in Montauk, and they're talking about in their mind. They're talking about the power of the inner limits of the mind and how you can overcome, even if people try to take something from you or erase it from your memory or put you in a place, you are the master of your own mind, and you can overcome that. Anyone trying to infiltrate mind, memory, behavioral, any of that, that's Montauk. Project Montauk. Look that shit up. And that's what that show was supposed to be about. But they were forced to not do that. And then I'm pretty sure that's why the last season took so long. Because they were really trying to say some stuff. And they got so much pushback. Because they're not allowed to just come out and say it. And they tried to do it artistically as much as they could. But calling the show Montauk, I guess, was too obvious, right? So I couldn't get into that show necessarily. Because I knew what they wanted it to be and what it was supposed to be. And they couldn't go there. And that sucks. But that's all real shit. And then watch... Oh, okay. You want to go down that route? Go watch Altered States with Drew Barrymore. Go watch... even like Firestarter. All that. That's all the stuff they were trying to get. Like the supernatural and the psychological powers they were trying to incite in children. And that's what the Gateway program was about. And that's where, like, kids that come from a traumatized home already make perfect candidates for certain... experimenting and programming, and that's, I think, about all I can say on a live stream anyway. But it's all in the Hollywood's hidden curriculum, and like this is all the stuff that I've been going into sort of sideways in a lot of my videos over the years, and going forward we're going to be going a little more direct. But yeah, self-proclaimed nonconformist, there you go. Well, all of us are getting to an age. Everything that went on in the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, like, we're all adults now. We can all look back now and be like, okay, what the fuck was going on? And obviously, like, through the 80s, 90s, pretty much everyone was on blow and just, like, fucking around. We had heroin chic and cocaine chic and all this fucking trendy bullshit. And then we were getting fed all this weird subliminal... erotic everything. Like, every movie was erotic for some reason. In the 90s, it was like erotic historical drama, erotic sci-fi thriller, erotic horror, blah blah blah. Like, why did we need so much erotic gore and shock and awe and all this shit? Why were we getting fed all this shit? Why did we have so much fetishism hidden under the guise of kids humor? Like, what the fuck was going on? Why was nobody paying attention? Why was nobody doing anything to protect kids? Because it happened on both sides. Like, when you think about the content we were consuming, the content being made, This is why there's so many fucking problems. This is why so many mental health issues are happening. This is why the rate of people ending their own lives is so high all the time. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And they keep trying to medicate everybody, but that's not going to work. There's pain that pills and all that shit can't touch, that chemicals can't touch, which that's Brave New World. They go into that about the soma and how they could try to have the perfect dystopian, whatever, utopian civilization where everyone's happy all the time. Everyone has all of their needs met. It's all the bread and circus and no pain. But the people still feel pain. They still get sad, and there's nothing you can do about that. And there's better ways to treat it than drugging it and trying to just put a Band-Aid over it. If you keep trying to put a Band-Aid over an infection and you don't cleanse the wound, eventually your arm's going to rot off. And that's what's happening. All the trauma, all the generational trauma is the infection, the pus from the infection of all the generational rot trauma from even the 70s, let's say, to the early 2000s. It's all bubbling up to the surface now. We're all in our late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, maybe even older. Some of you guys, I know we're 40s, 50s, whatever, but we're all here now seeing the trauma apocalypse for what it is. All the trauma anomalies coming to the surface. The infectious ooze is coming out from under the Band-Aids, and we're going to have to deal with it now. The Sodom and Gomorrah reign is over. The people, power of the people, we're taking it over now. Yeah. The, what's it called? Estes Park, the Stanley Hotel. It's actually 3 hotels that they use for The Shining, but, like the one in Yosemite is some of the exterior shots. But yeah, it was the inspiration for The Shining was when he stayed in Estes Park at the Stanley Hotel. And that, yeah. Yeah, The Shining has a big meaning. Even like Stephen King, as much as I think he's not a good guy, I think that he was really trying to tell us some stuff about our own inner limits and what we're able to do as human beings, and if we can harness that power and that shine and that all of our inner knowing. Because what they were trying to say with that movie, like that movie was never supposed to be a horror movie. Also, it was supposed to be a psychological thriller, and a lot of the demons and everything in that, like, it was all a mental construct. It was the demons of your own mind that haunt you. It was about addiction and how people treat it. Like, and you gotta remember, too, Stephen King was very much into the sauce, very into the blow and the sauce when he was making all that earlier stuff. But he was saying some shit with it, and there's certain themes that reoccur across the board. So in a way, he's been leaving breadcrumbs, too. You know, he played the game, but he's leaving the breadcrumbs also. I'm old, but your research is brilliant. Thank you, Maya. I appreciate. Yeah, Kubrick, he's a wild card. I'm gonna need a certain color for wild cards, because there's some people that it's like they're so in the middle. Like when you look at the spectrum of evil, good and evil, because there's like 9 quadrants. There's like chaotic good, chaotic evil. There's opportunistic good, opportunistic good, evil, neutral good, neutral evil. Like there's all these quadrants. It's a spectrum, right? And some people sit so right in the middle. Like there's so many things on either side that it's like you don't really know where to place them. That I would call a wild card. So we're going to need a color for that. I don't know what that's going to be yet. And like, yeah, I think maybe we'll put some heads together, and as I'm getting Desi figuring out her board on this mind map system, like maybe more will come to me too of how exactly to approach mine. Because it's different, it's the same but different. And it's all important. It all needs to be known in whatever people way, like they want to consume it or understand it. Like there's something for everyone, and there needs to be all different kinds of ways to display this stuff, because not everybody learns the same. Some people learn visually, some people learn by audio, some people like to read. So, you know, if we have more and more people putting it out there in their own special way and not worrying about how many people want to call them crazy for doing it, then we're getting somewhere. We'll get somewhere with that. And I think we are. I think more people are getting into being more of like an independent type journalist and putting their own research out there and talking about, like, and I guess things like TikTok and stuff has made it easier for people to just jump on, and you don't need much experience. You don't need to be tech savvy. You can just get on and say the thing, you know? Do the thing. Jim Carrey is a wild card. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like leading the farm animals to the pasture. Like when you see them like in New York doing the ball drop on New Year's, it's literally like, oh, all the farm animals, but with a PH, like the kids say, you know, all the farm animals coming out to the pasture Like, they're all out of the barn today, out to the pasture. Like, when people go in flocks to, like, the big cities for big major events and stuff, it's all the sheep out to the pasture, you know? And they want all these events and stuff to fill them and to fill some kind of void and to feel some kind of joy or happiness. But a lot of it is energy harvesting. So you're more drained and more taken from, and then people, like, you know, a lot of them do some drinking and partying and whatever while they're at it, and it got them nowhere. They got nothing out of it, really, in the long run that is meaningful or fulfilling of their mind or purpose, or, like, no soul food. There's very little soul food. It's a lot of bread and circus and very little soul food. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep up with the chat more, too. Well, and the way I have it set up with the map is on a different screen, where usually when I'm chatting with you guys, I have, like, the chats right in front of me, and, like, I'll have to figure out a better way to set this up so that I can see and access the map easy enough, but then also have everything in front of me easy enough. I'm trying to keep up with you guys in the chat, but the chat's on fire today, too. I think you guys are all very excited about this, too, and everybody's got good things to add in, and I'll start zeroing in, and, yeah, I know about Brian Peck being good friends with John Wayne Gacy. That's a whole other layer. That's a whole other layer, and I think there's a lot of reasons why we had such a concentration of those kinds of people in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s also. And actually, that's some of what Desi was looking into at one point more, so basically that there were experiments saying that they were going to take criminally insane people, and yeah, it's a whole thing. That's a whole other thing for another day. We won't get into it. We're almost at 2 hours here, and I think we're going to just wrap it up here shortly, but I think this is good as another second, I guess it's the second episode now. The first one was kind of just an introduction, but I think I know what I'm going to title it now. I think we'll just go with the Dark Hollywood mind map, and then just putting dates so everybody can follow along, and I'll probably have to make a playlist or something. I don't know. I gotta get organized also of, like, all these playlists and all this stuff I got going on, and fuck, I got so many projects I still need to wrap up that I was already working on when the Reiner thing happened that threw everything off course. I gotta finish off the John Bonet. The elephant is a whole separate map. Yeah. The elephant's in the room and people are seeing it now, but we just have to figure out its circumference and how far its trunk and tail spread out, and where it's shitting. We don't know where the elephant has been shitting the whole time, and that's a fucking problem. The Shining on TV was one that traumatized you? Well, because they did the miniseries. There was a miniseries, and then there was the movie, and actually, if you guys don't realize, that movie Dr. Sleep is like the sequel to The Shining, and it's like makes perfect sense because it's 30 years after, and then it's continuing off pretty much just after whatever had happened at the hotel, and then it's just the mom and the kid, and they did a great job. It was a great movie. Sorry, I'm catching up with you guys here. Is Michelle Reiner related to Bryan Singer? No, that's a different Singer family, which also, though, it might not be now, but it was a Singer family, pardon me, that had bought the Hollywood Center Studios after Francis Ford Coppola had gone, he went bankrupt trying to make a movie there, and it was a Singer family, Jack Singer, I believe, that was a very wealthy real estate development company that had bought this, but again, another Singer family, but not related to Bryan Singer. And no, Michelle Singer Reiner, not related to Bryan Singer, different Singer. But, I mean, I could see where you would be wanting to see if that wasn't a connection. And it's hard to tell because her history, it's not quite clear. Her family came over on a boat, and they changed their identities when they got here. And, so yeah, actually she might, but we don't really know. We don't really know on that one. She's a little bit of a wild card, but here's a fun fact about Michelle Reiner. She looks a lot like Ghislaine Maxwell through the early to late 90s, and there were cases, like with John Bonet and Madeleine McCann, that they thought, like the sketch, and like in the background of some pictures of John Bonet, that people thought it was Ghislaine, but then people were debunking that, like, no, it's not Ghislaine. Well, what if it was Michelle Reiner that whole time, and she was like the bait and switch or whatever, like she looked identical for a reason, and there was, two ends of the same, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I'm not going to fully come out and say it, but you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Oh yeah, the Dave McGowan is great. I was reading. I haven't finished it yet, but I was reading the Laurel Canyon one. All of that. There's so much just in that first chunk of that book is insane. Like I can see what you like about him. And the Program to Kill is interesting too. But again, like I have so many projects on the go, and then so many books on the go, and so much. Now we got the mind map on the go, but we're gonna make it happen. We got a system. It's gonna work. Yep. Well, and he was very early in on the in-game currency and cryptocurrency and just digital currencies in general. He's one of the richest digital currency people right now. And interestingly enough, after Mark Collins Rector escaped and he was finally caught, but then he escaped again, he fled, so he's still not faced any justice. But he was found with a ton of child harm material in Spain. And where do you think all that child harm material came from? It all came from this operation. And who do you think was helping him launder all that money and using Silk Road? Like, Silk Road was invented and crypto was invented for crime, for organized crime. That's literally what it was for. So why do you think he could get on the Bitcoin Foundation with all these people that 10 of the people on the Bitcoin Foundation wanted to quit because of his connection to crimes against children, and instead of them just not letting him on the board, they let 10 people quit to let him on the Bitcoin Foundation board of directors, or whatever the fuck it's called. So yeah, he should be a bigger dot, to be honest, and there's so much more going on there, but like, this is just the beginning. This is literally just the beginning. This is not even the tip of the iceberg yet. Poltergeist traumatized you as a kid. Yeah. Well, think about, how many movies it was just like we were just watching them, and like I don't think any of the adults even had the wherewithal to even realize what some of these movies that we were watching were doing to us, what it was trying to tell us, the subliminal messaging. Because how many adults are even paying attention to their kids' stuff? Like, how long were people getting away with, like, do you guys remember Elsagate? How long did that go on? And it's because people were just letting their kids watch stuff and didn't have a clue what they were freaking watching. And now you got Spider-Man peeing on Elsa's face and your kid's watching that in a cartoon. Like, that's cool. That's great. So, like, that's what we got now. That's the rot of degeneracy we've got now. But we were getting fed the same kind of shit before, like, under the guise of kids' humor. And it was all subliminal and subversive, you know? Well, and The Exorcist is a cursed movie. Poltergeist is a cursed movie. Which, if you go into that whole thing, like, I've only got the one connection on here right now, the Heather O'Rourke. Where is it? But there is more to add into that, into the Poltergeist. There's, like, 7 more people that died weirdly. Maybe not 7, but there's more to that, to connect to that. Like, this is just the, like, foundation. There's still so much. And in some cases, I've left a little more space knowing. But in other cases, I'm going to need to make more space because I boxed myself in. But luckily, we can just grab the sections and pull them out and move them. And it's fucking fantastic. Like, Des, you're going to love this. I guess you are still hanging out in the chat in there. You're going to love this. When you get into this, it's so much easier than it looks. Like, it's a little bit fiddly and I'm still getting the hang of it. But honestly, it's so user-friendly. And if you're already on the Canva, and I know you've been using it anyway with, like, getting better at the edits and stuff. So this, I know you can handle this shit. And I know once you get going with it, like, you could do just a John Bonet to start mapping out for, like, the Norman Augustine and all the kids, like, just for a little, just to start getting the hang of it, start small instead of, like, diving in full force, trying to put your map from the wall onto the computer. Like, just start fiddling with it on a small scale, because, like, that's kind of what I did. I had the wall, then I did this one with the Brittany, and then I realized that doing the connectors with the straight line makes them connect, and then you can, like, because this way it's not connected, it moves, but this way with the line connectors it connects. So, like, it took me a little bit of fiddling around to get the hang of that, but it did start smaller scale before I jumped into doing the whole big thing. So don't feel like you got to jump in and do the whole big thing right away. Like, maybe the John Bonet, if that's where you keep getting pulled to right now, maybe do the John Bonet to start, and then you get the hang of it, and, like, you can have as many as you want. You can have all of them, and then you can have them on one board. You can bring them all onto one and, like, have different sections all connecting however you want. It's very user friendly, very customizable, and very with the colors, like for your color code system, like you can go more in depth with that too, like having the two dual colors on one, or having a different colored circle around. Like I might start making some of these like with the font being one color and the outer circle colors meaning something different, you know. I don't know, I haven't figured it out yet. I'm halfway here trying to figure it out too as I go. But yeah, if you read, but get back to The Shining and like Doctor Sleep, if you read the books, like for any movies based on a book, like the book is way better. Gonna just say that right now. Very rarely have I seen a movie that's better than the book, except actually maybe like, I think Fight Club did a really good job making the book and the movie kind of connect in such a way, because the book was like, that was a lot. That was a lot to be able to organize into something that would be a visual representation. So they did a good job on that. But very rarely is the book as good as, or is the movie as good as the book. So with like The Exorcist, with even like Silence of the Lambs, some of that stuff, like in all this media, they're a lot of the time they're trying to tell you something. You just don't know. Yeah, VHS. I'm definitely like a huge supporter. Preserve physical media as much as you possibly can. VHS, buy the books, because they can't edit that shit. Like streaming services, and even when they started coming with like DVDs and Blu-rays, they started cutting a lot of stuff from movies, and so when you try to refer back, it doesn't exist anymore. But like, so that's like the modern day book burning, is having everything coming digital. So as much as like we want to use these digital tools and they are beneficial to us and what, you know, to the good fight, having the physical media is important too, because they can't take that away from you. They can't edit that, you know, like, so I've kind of gone out of my way to try to find media that was like impossible to find. Like you'd have to go to some weird thrift store online to find the damn book to get it, but to get the physical version, because even the digital copies have been censored or edited in such a way so you're not getting the full picture, right? So VHS. You can't hear me. What do you mean you can't hear me? It's all on. What do you mean you can't hear me? We actually got the new mic and everything. You should be able to hear me. Oh, fuck. Anyway. Yeah, me too. Like, I was watching, like, Hellraiser and, like, Nightmare on Elm Street at, like, 7 years old. Probably should not. But there was no supervision. It was just what it was. And, I can see how it shaped and probably impacted me in ways, you know. I've done a lot of studying of psychology and things over the years to better understand the damage. But probably we shouldn't have been watching that. Probably not as kids. But that was one of my favorites. Nightmare on Elm Street, when I was a kid, I was like, yeah. It's the fight against good and evil continuing into the, you know, and how it can attack you in your dreams and, like, fighting back against the evil of your mind and stuff. I could see why I liked it. Now, as I've gotten older, I could see why certain media stood out to me, you know? Like, why I liked Fight Club so much when I was younger, and why I was so into The Shining, and what I was getting out of it. There was more to it, you know? It wasn't about what was on the surface. It was the message that I was getting from it. And it was a good message versus a bad message, where some media they give you is, like, normalizing things. Like, there was a lot of movies that were specifically where they were going out of their way to find kids that came from poverty and, like, had no wherewithal, had no interest in even getting into the industry. They weren't going to auditions or anything like that. But, like, Joel Schumacher, what was the other guy? I can't remember the other guy's name. But there was a bunch of the earlier kids that were recruited, like Brad Renfro was plucked out of a trailer park where he was living with his grandma, so he also just didn't have supportive parents. It was his grandma, and brought into these movies where he was basically chewed up and spit out. And all these kids, for like the movie kids, they were specifically kids they found on the street and just brought them into this world and then took advantage of them. And this is why a lot of them didn't make it out the other side. River Phoenix had a very seriously traumatizing childhood and like had been busking on the street to make money for his family and his cult, like their cult that they were part of when they were kids. Him and his siblings would play music on the side of the road to make money for the family. Like, he had a really screwed up situation, and he came in and became a huge star and was in these huge blockbuster hit movies, but then at what cost? At what cost? And did he know even what he was getting into? You know? And was that even more pre-planned than we realized? Because the mom somehow had no employment and was part of this cult for like 10 fucking years, but comes to Hollywood and suddenly is a secretary at NBC. I'm sorry, what? Make that one make sense. You know? Ealing Studio. See, well, and that's the whole other thing. Like, this is also just, like, the Western side of things, like, North American. Like, it connects some of the Canadian people, too, like, because Bieber's Canadian. But, like, this is just the West. Like, this is just North American stuff, which it all connects over to. And then you got to think about the countries about, like, that have a lowered age of consent and why some of these film companies will take movies over there and take some of these kids over there, like Bug Hall, who was brought over for, I don't think it's on here right now. What's the movie? Was it The Stupids? No, maybe it was The Big Green. One of those movies, though, shortly after The Little Rascals, he was brought over the border. So then when you have a family with a lot of kids and whatever, the mom's more likely to be like, oh yeah, just let the publicist take you or whatever. And then they're over in another country for like 2-3 months at a time. And then especially if they're brought, like Jonathan Brandis was brought to places with like the age of consent difference too, not just to Canada, but brought overseas. Like, who's letting people bring these kids overseas and what's happening to them? You know, what was it? The Neverending Story 2 that he was in, I think, was one that was filmed in like Germany or some shit. Why are we bringing little kids to Germany to film a movie you could do in Colorado? Like, you need the mountains, or what is it in Germany that you couldn't get anywhere else closer, you know? No. Yeah, the Children of God cult, yep. Yeah, and Rose McGowan, yeah. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. See, I love that you guys are all on the same page now. Like, trying to talk about this stuff years ago was like, you just felt crazy. Like, people would say you're crazy, and then you just started to feel crazy, because, yeah. But yeah, that whole cult, I wondered if that was, okay, type operation, you know? But, yeah, there's a lot to cover. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of history. And we're going to start somewhere. And I know what I know, but I know that a lot of people know things that I don't know also. So, we're going to figure it out. And there's a lot more red dots that need to go on here, obviously, too. I do realize that. Like, you could go all the way back, too. Like, there's, like, Judith Barcy and Anissa Jones and... what was the other one? Like, Bobby Driscoll, one of the OGs. Like, we could go all the way back if we wanted. We might have to do it by decades, maybe. We'll start a timeline. Because this is kind of coming into the 90s, early 2000s of, like, my upbringing, I guess, what my frame of reference is. But we could take it and keep going, too. Like, going back into the annals of history. But yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. I think, we're just after 2 hours here. That's probably another good... Like, we want to make it that's, like, bite-sized, too, so that people can absorb as we're going. Because you throw too much shit all at once, it can be a little overwhelming. And, you know, I know just for my own rabbit hole sake of, you know, you always want to have a trail back out to come up for air. You don't want to be too deep and too many rabbit holes all at once for too long. Moderation in everything, right? Or everything in moderation. The Davidians, yeah. Some of them, like, well, Jonestown definitely was, pretty sure. The drinking the Kool-Aid, those 900 people that drank the Kool-Aid, pretty sure that was a operation. Yep. But we'll get in more into that. I think, I'll have to do a video about what the Hollywood's Hidden Curriculum is supposed to be about, what that all is, because it's the MK of it all, and how it all connects, and with examples, with real-world examples, with facts, tied historical facts, backed up, all of it. It's like, it's all there, and it's not done yet, but it's happening. This is happening. It all ties back. Like, there's so much stuff that's left unsaid for a reason, and we have to do it differently, because people have been trying to do this for decades, using some of the similar language, the same ways of doing it, and we're not getting anywhere. So we got to try different ways to get the information out there and be able to have it accessed by more of the general audience, you know, because a lot of the stuff, it's not general audience, not safe for a general audience or whatever, not considered suggestible or whatever, you know? I know. I'm being silly. I know it's that. Yeah, I know. I said it like that on purpose. I know. But, you know, the Mark Collins rector of it all. You kind of gotta be. You gotta have a little bit of comedic relief in between sometimes. But yeah, thank you guys for joining for this. I guess it's going to be a brand new thing we're doing here, but I'll keep you up on the progress. And like I said, I'll end up, I'm going to do, once it's a little more complete and I get my notes back on here and it makes a little more sense, I'll make a viewable link available over on Patreon. So if you're not there already, get in as a member. You don't have to pay. You can be a free member. You'll get access to lots of stuff too. Including this. I think I'll probably just make this free also. I don't know. I guess it just, a lot of time, like, having the paywall is more for a level of security and safety. Like, because if you're flying too close to the sun, we know what happens. We know what can happen to people. So, we just got to do it carefully. But I do want to make this available so people can check it out on their own and be able to zoom in and see the connections, like, at their own leisure. And watch it getting bigger in real time, because I'll be just fiddling around with it from time to time, and if anyone's viewing it at that time, they'll be able to see it like in real time happening. So that'd be kind of cool, I think, too. And it's gonna be a journey. It's the pie of that gland, yeah. Well, it's all connected, and like there's a reason, like there's so much more stuff about like the spiritual and the metaphysical and stuff that they know about that we don't, you know. So, I think I'll probably start posting a little more on the Patreon too, with articles about certain stuff, like, because I think we're getting ready to enter that, like, enough people know about the Gateway program and stuff, and the Monroe Institute, and, like, more and more people are getting it. They know what's going on, they know what's happening, and so I think we can progress forward, instead of going in circles all the time, trying to repeat the same shit for the last 7 years. Like, now we can go forward, and it's awesome. It's so fantastic. I'm so glad. We've got so many awakened eyeballs being part of this. We're going to make big things happen, guys. And you're all going to be part of it. It's history in the making. Yep. Yes, he does. And you know how I know that? Because I put it on the map. But yeah, there's so much more there also. There's so much more there. Because the Geffen connects back to the DreamWorks, which connects back to the iceberg of it all, and the Katzenberg, and the other berg, and the other bergs. Awful lot of bergs. Yeah, there's the Clive Davis and the Lucian Grange. I gotta add way more. I haven't, like, I barely scraped the surface on this is the music industry side. I had the big honchos, and how they all interconnect, and their little subsidiaries, how they branch off, and where they connect. How they connect all to this guy somehow. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. Anyway. I think, yeah, we'll leave it at that. It's been great. I appreciate you guys participating in the chat. And, yeah. All the links are in the description. You guys know where to find them. You know where to find me. Make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on. Yeah. Or make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the flip side.
Red bricks crumble under my feet, a path that whispers a cursed heartbeat. Shadows stretch long, they know my name. Every step forward, it's all the same. The trees lean in, they're alive tonight. The moon's too scared to give me light. Follow the red brick road, they said. Where it leads, where it ends, no one's fled. It pulls, it drags, it swallows whole. The red brick road's got a price for your soul. your soul.